when you're learning about prosthetics, you don't necessarily learn, okay, here's how to make a wounded leg, or here's how to make a zombie. You can be asked anything. Anything that a director or a writer imagine, you might be asked to do. For Pari, I had to create a baby without a belly button because the mother didn't have an umbilical cord attachment, so it was born without that. So these sort of slightly odd requests you might get. Hi, I'm Clover Wootton and I'm a makeup and prosthetics artist. I didn't grow up wanting to be a makeup artist or a prosthetics artist either. I didn't really even know that that kind of job existed, I think. I tend to make most of them myself without much help. So you end up with sort of cuts on your hands and plaster everywhere and silicone everywhere and try and be tidy, but it ends up going everywhere. One of the things that I really enjoy is the initial process of designing the character and getting into the mindset of who that person is. Chapaka's recently released. That was a film that had a lot of prosthetics, took a lot of preparation time and a lot of time on set as well. So when it came to making the main prosthetic for Deepika's look for Chapak, I take a life cast of Deepika's head, which is sort of like a silicone mask, and then you case that in plaster of Paris, and that then becomes a positive mold onto which I sculpt what I want the prosthetic to look like. So for Chapak, we did a lot of discussions about how far we wanted to push the wounds from the acid attack, and we wanted it as close to Lakshmi as possible, but understanding the limitations of what is possible with Deepika's face and what is possible with the time constraints, and for the fact that it's going to be on the big screen, what works, what doesn't work. On the day of shoot, we'll go and put it, attach it to her face with a gum, finish all the colouring. That process takes about 2 hours. The process of making a prosthetic piece is that you put a mould release down, you spray a couple of encapsulant layers, and then you put the silicone mixture into the mould and wait for it to set. You then open the mould, take out the piece, and that is then applied onto the skin. And that can be used for 1 day only. So if I'm shooting with her for 30 days, I need to make 30 pieces. So that's why the prep time needs to be a lot of time, because it takes a lot of time for the silicone to set. It takes a lot of time to prep the molds and get to even make one piece. And actors and actresses are really much more willing these days to experiment and see what they can do and push how they look to fit into a different kind of character and a different kind of role. You have to learn a lot about how bodies work, and I've been asked to create dead bodies that have decayed for a week. Okay, so how has it decayed? Where has it decayed? What temperature has that body been left in? What happens to the body after you die? You don't bleed because you don't have your heart's not pumping anymore. So all these sort of things that we sometimes take for granted, you have to learn about it and figure out, and that's a whole other side to it as well. For example, in Talwar, we had a body that had been left up on the roof in the sun. So we had to research what happens to a body that has already died. How does that respond to the sun? It's not going to get sunburnt because your blood is not pumping and is not going to rise to the surface to give you that burnt look. So what happens instead? Does the skin blister? Does it become very dry and crack? Now as well, because we have all these streaming platforms and people have access to so many movies from all over the world. The audience is demanding a better aesthetic, a better, more realistic aesthetic when it comes to wounds or characters. It has to be more seamless, otherwise it doesn't work, and people are wise to that now. So directors have been responding to that and are paying more attention to what can be achieved. I feel really lucky that I've been able to find a career that allows me to travel so much, to meet amazing people, that allows me to let my brain sort of go off in crazy directions. I love that I get to, given these crazy requests, and I get to sit in my studio all day and play around and make stuff and have so much fun with that. So I feel really lucky that I have found that for myself.